Hey, welcome back to the Real Estate Excellence Podcast with your host, Tracy Hayes. Real producer in the house. Today I have a co-owner of one of the fastest growing real estate brokerages in Northeast Florida. You're actually the founder, though, right? Brought the wife, co-founder. You're the wife.
You got the wrong Brooks on the podcast, for sure.
Co-founder. All right. He has recruited a list of solid producers at Momentum Realty, and which is just blows my mind. Which several of them I've had on the show already. In 2015, he was a Rookie of the Year at a brokerage he's a coach, mentor, recruiter. He also has a lending side, a marketer, to mention a few hats he wears. He leads the Brooks Group at Momentum Realty, who served nearly 100 customers in 2021 for over almost $32 million in volume. Let's welcome the visionary John Brooks of Momentum Realty to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I was the first thing I caught about you. I saw your information. I tagged on you, saw Madison.
Yeah, Madison.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Madison.
She's phenomenal.
I had her scheduled actually last week, but she decided to go to Dominican Republic on me, so we have to reschedule.
She'll get back with you.
She'll get back with you because I just listened to her podcast because she is amazing. You're young, she's younger than you, and listening to her and the things that she was talking about. And then obviously as I'm getting prepared, I started popping around and finding you on different podcasts, and the things that you're talking about and telling your story is, just amazing. The numbers you were putting out, I think you're definitely an inspiration to many, and anyone out there listening, if you're a new agent or maybe an agent who's just kind of maybe hit a lid. John's going to have, I guarantee if you listen long enough to this podcast, you're going to get some tips today. There's stuff's going to come out in this conversation.
Awesome.
And I'm excited about it. So John, tell us a little about where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Falls Church, Virginia, which is a suburb right out of Washington, D.C. So it's the Super Bowl of economics up there. It's a fast-paced environment. And grew up there, for the first 18, 20 years of my life. Went to Virginia Tech. I was the youngest of three brothers, so we're a hyper-competitive family. And my brothers are geniuses, and so I got to keep up with them all the time. So then I moved to Jacksonville, Florida in 2014 for a job relocation. When I graduated, I was living in my mom's basement and doing the metro line into work every day. Realized after a year of doing that I wasn't going to make a good living. Doing that, and I didn't have a good lifestyle. So those are two things, like from the beginning after graduating, I was like, oh, this is a little bit different than I expected. So my wife and I relocated to Jacksonville, Florida, and that really changed everything for us.
Now but you didn't enter into real estate right away.
No.
Tell us what you do, because I've obviously listened to podcasts, so I want you to tell the story. What you come to Jacksonville, what are you doing?
Yeah, so I left a job that was phenomenal, and I had a lot of mentorship from partners at the company I was at before, and I did economics and statistics studies for companies that were looking to relocate headquarters. So I got to learn a lot about real estate through that and learn tax policy economics through that. When I came to Jacksonville, the environment was different, and I needed to switch jobs. It was just a different pace. I felt like the quality of the people I was working with was different than I had experienced in Washington, D.C. And again, I'm young, so I don't know.
Right. You were picking up on that. But that's true, though. I mean, I have family. I've lived outside D.C. We visited I lived in Northern Virginia for most of the 90s. Corporations having some sort of presence in the greater D.C. area is part of the game.
Yeah. You got to play the political game, too. So I switched over and went to a Wall Street investment bank and became a real estate investment banker. And all those hedge funds that are out there purchasing the single-family rental properties, American Homes for Rent, Invitation Homes, all those, I would actually securitize those loans and go up to Wall Street, meet with the rating agencies, tranche out those loans, and then sell them internationally. And so I got to see the end game of what happens in real estate, which was really cool.
What was your major at Virginia Tech?
Finance.
Finance was your major. So I mean, they only teach you so much. I mean, how do you, at a very young age, I mean, that's some high level stuff. And I've run into other young people that have gotten it. How do you kind of get introduced into that? Is it a network or who you know? Or, I mean,
it's mentorship and finding the right mentor, not somebody that says they know how to do it but doesn't actually know how to do it. So
done it.
I was very someone who's actually done what you want to do. So I had really good, like in every job that I've had the partner take me under their wing, and I was like their analyst, and I did their job for them, and they would kind of just manage me.
Right.
And so I got to learn the partner level stuff as a young guy because I have a really hard work ethic. And they know that if I don't know how to do something, I'm going to act with integrity. I'm going to come back to them and be like, look, I don't know how to do this. Even if it's fundamental questions, I'm going to go back to them and get the answer before I move forward.
Just so we mention them on the podcast, you sent me a podcast with the two gentlemen from Georgia. What's the name of their
Bo Cook. Yeah.
Is that Bo or
Harrison
dual,
and Randy.
Is it dual? I thought it was dual.
Dual agency podcast.
Dual
Yes.
agency podcast. So we want to throw that out there. You said something that was so, and I was telling my wife about it last night. Actually, I might have been telling Zach about it. I couldn't remember. I was telling someone about it because after you made a statement there that a lot of our people in our industry go out and they got that keynote speaker up there, or maybe they're at some, big, like a Keller Williams big huge event in Dallas, and they got these people up there speaking who aren't really they talk the talk, but they haven't walked the walk. You know what I'm saying? That actually have done the numbers that they're trying to teach you. You remember that part in that podcast? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so there's been like this interesting phenomenon over the last 7 years where whoever has the most money on their credit card can buy the most leads and have the biggest business, but that doesn't mean it's going to be a profitable business.
Right.
And so there's a lot of hypocrisy. So you might see like the major speakers on most of every single company.
Right.
Usually their number one, number two guys generally are the ones that are investing the most in these online leads. Well, a lot of them are not making as much profit behind the scenes. And that's something to be talked about because you get into the business why?
Right. Well, you got to make money. Yeah, you're
make money.
Yeah.
And to make so much money that you can get out of selling real estate or getting out of doing the day-to-day job, or you want to make an impact on the community, things like this. A lot of these teams that are buying these online leads, they do the exact opposite. They're trying to make their money back after spending so much, and then they have a lot of turnover because they don't treat their people in the appropriate way. And then what happens is it all falls to pieces.
It's a different model. I grew up at Quicken Loans and Loan Depot in the call center environment. I mean, their model is they spend a tremendous amount of money on the lower my bills, Zillow leads, whatever's coming in, or when you're clicking and they're calling before you get done, those they spend a lot of money doing that. And they know that they take in so much, they're going to get so much out the other end. They're going to turn 3 to 8% somewhere in that. And if you were doing 8% of your leads that you got at Quicken, you were really good.
Right.
Below 3, they're probably cutting you right now because the retraction in the refi market and so forth.
Right.
So, but you're right. I mean, it's a different model. To me, it's not. Obviously, if you have a lot of money and you go long term, Quicken was able to turn that into a much larger. Now they service mortgages. They have a model that people will invest in. But yeah, if you're down here and trying to get started and you're spending all your money here, well, when you run out of money, hopefully you're making enough on that back end, or it's tough, and it is a grind shop.
Yeah, and there are businesses that make money doing that, and there's nothing wrong with that way of business. It's just one way of business, but I feel like it's been the one that's been the most focused on. So instead of putting the person on stage who has the most volume in units, why don't we find the person that has the best profit, the best lifestyle, the best health, and is completely financially free? Because that's the right person to model from. If you're modeling from a false idol that you see that's like on the brink of bankruptcy because they're on stage and you don't know all the financial details.
They're just flipping the money, and hopefully they're
and you could be modeling off of them, and then your business is going to look like theirs. Well, what is the point? What did you really get into real estate to do? Was it to be number one and have your ego stroked, or was it to become financially free and financially literate and then give back to the community in your own way?
Right. I totally agree. I mean, when you graduated from Virginia Tech, I mean, obviously being a real estate agent didn't seem to be, from what I've read or what I've watched you and listened to you. What was your vision at 22 years old?
So my parents, they were like, okay, you're going to quit your Wall Street investment banking job. You've got all these incredible mentors, and you're going to go be a real estate agent in Jacksonville, Florida. I mean, their eyes were rolling. They were like, oh gosh, where did we go wrong?
Right.
No, but I mean, I feel like they knew that I was going to be entrepreneurial, but there were things that happened to me that like made me have to go into it. Number one, there was a pay freeze at my company after I earned a ton of money for them. And I was doing a lot of work, and anyone who's in investment banking, you go in for the bonus at the end of the year. And so when they did a pay freeze and no bonuses, I said, look, I don't want to have anybody else have control of my life.
Right.
And right before that, my uncle, who's an entrepreneur, he had a brain aneurysm. And it just hit me. And he said, John, you need to do something with your life. Don't just keep winging it and going through the motions and do that corporate ladder. Like, you really need to go do something.
Right.
And so that hit me at the same time we were buying our first house. We made an offer. The listing agent didn't respond for 2 days. And my wife at the time, Brittany, she was my girlfriend at the time. She was like, you should not go to the house and go door knock them. And I was like, I'm going to go do it. And so I door knocked and made the deal with the seller directly. And we closed that house. We still own it today. And it'll be passed down to our daughter as an investment property. And it's making great money for us now. And so that's really what caused me to get in is the pain of the real estate transaction by people who just didn't care about the consumer, the inability to have income that accurately reflected the amount of effort that I put into my job. And so those two things, along with the pain of, hey, life is short, you need to do something, caused me to hop in at age 24 with no money. I mean, I had nothing. Really.
Your phone. So
nope, not
you're,
me.
You're starting to lead into one of the things that I'm, interviewing nearly almost 60 agents now, at least 55 plus of top agents. You're starting to lead into something, and when I listen to like your production just as yourself, and then the people you're attracting to Momentum, I'm seeing their numbers, or at least they're posting and what they're doing. You quickly, if I can summarize it and tell me if I'm right or wrong, you quickly realize there's such a soft spot in the real estate industry that only less than like 1% that really are just totally exploiting that soft spot. And I'm starting to hear you say it, and I've heard a lot of these agents talk about it. And because you were upset the listing agent didn't call for 2 days. It's like, most people would have just given up on the property. You went over there, and now you're seeing, like any entrepreneur, you're like, there's a weakness here.
Yes.
And the weakness is people, really.
Yeah.
And their mindset of how this business is supposed to run and how you can exploit it. So you go into real estate, you end up at Weichert is where you started, right?
Yeah.
What led you there? Did you know someone there, or what?
I did. I followed my agent that had sold me the house to go there because it was the only place that I knew. And I was like every other agent. I didn't do any diligence. I had no idea. I didn't read my independent contractor agreement. I did all the wrong things myself. And I wish someone had a podcast or started talking about all of these things before I hopped in.
Right.
And so that's what happened. So my first year I sold 66 properties for $12.1 million back in 2016. So today's market value of that, right?
Right. Yeah.
2017, I got a little bit smarter, focused on my price point, sold 20 million plus for 74 units. 2018, my wife Brittany came into the game.
But someone was there someone there? You take the test. You're a very smart guy, so memorizing the contract or understanding how those things, that's an easy class for you. But really, the people step. You don't get the 66 home. You moved from here. Did you know anyone here in Jacksonville?
No, I didn't know. I had no money, no database, no anything.
So what were you doing to attract 66 people to buy or sell a home with you?
I worked hard. The first thing I did was I started door knocking everyone in my neighborhood that I had just bought my house in, and that eventually after 3 months, somebody let me list their property. That property I did open house on it every single day. Mm-hmm. I got buyers all over the place, and then the neighbor down the street liked the fact that I worked hard.
So are you using the listing as a bait?
This is a huge missed opportunity. Like agents out there right now, you've gotten lazy. They're not doing all the activities around the listings to maximize them.
Right.
And it's an easy way to get free business. You don't need to buy online leads. You can do an open house and have 40 buyers walk through it right now if it's in the right price point, right area.
Because you probably know this statistic, what is the percentage of people who walk into an open house that don't have an agent that are actually actively considering buying? Some are just the neighbors want to be nosy and walk through the house. So
that's what I want. I want the nosy neighbors because that's my next listing. So,
okay.
So I'm in the game of relationships.
Right.
So all I know is that if they have an agent, they don't have an agent. I got in front of them. My name's John Brooks. I'm a local real estate agent. You live in the area as well. They might not be buying from me this time around, but they might know their next person that's going to buy. And if I do a really good job and represent myself well and build a relationship with them, or maybe friend request them on Facebook or stay connected on Instagram and we just stay connected, I'm playing the long game. I think a lot of agents, they're playing the very short. How do I just make money off of somebody right now? That's not the conversation. It's how do I build enough relationships in the community that know, like and trust me, where they're going to eventually send referrals into me.
How many? I mean, I see it daily where people are moving into these subdivisions in our area, and especially from out of the state, and they're calling their friends and family and saying, "Hey, you need to move here too."
Yep.
And to have obviously get that relationship is possibly another handful of sales over the next couple of years. Just calling their friends and family. Grandma wants to move a little closer, but they're also, I see it a lot, as obviously building with the new builder, and working specifically with subdivisions. So I'm seeing the names come up. They're telling their brother, their sister, their cousin, and they're all moving into the same neighborhood. And some agent is got to take that lead and do that follow up. That's
if you're just relational and you show that you care about people over time, they will. And if you ask them for help and say, "This is my goal for the year. Can you help me reach it?" People go out of their way to help people when you ask for it and you give them clarity on what your goal is.
Do you have to? I can't remember the last person. I know I've asked this question before, but do you have to? We talked about relationship building. So when you're out there, your first year, 66 homes, you're doing a lot of relationship building. You're really good at it.
Yep.
Do you actually sit back, or maybe you took some tips from someone's book or something? What is it that kept you fresh in mind of making sure you were focused on that? Focus on making sure, because we don't always click with everybody.
Right.
There's some people who just, there's some people who are standoffish. They may really love you, but you don't know that because they're not reacting the way we would expect them to react, right? So what do you have to actually think about? Hey, you know what, Mrs. Smith, I haven't actually done this with her, and this is my process. I haven't, bought her a coffee or flowers or whatever it is. I don't know what it is. Do you have to actually think through that, or does it come natural to you to do that?
It's both.
Yeah.
It's both. I think there's a lot of stuff that you can systematize to get content out in front of your audience that they care about. And you also have to do the personal touches to show them that you care about them. The reason why it's natural. What are
some things that you do? Someone you don't know right now calls you up. Somebody from Virginia referred you, so there's no connection locally. You don't know them a whole hell of a lot. But what are like a couple of things that you make sure you do or consistently with each of your buyers that might be coming in that help build those relationships? What are some things that you do? Do you take them out to lunch? I don't know. What is it that you do?
So just to go back to the natural, it's natural because I had such a bad experience, and that pain still fuels me. I'm like, the person that served me didn't care, and like I got into the business because I care, and like I want to make it better for everybody. So what are some of the things that we do? I mean, with the Brooks group that's run by Michelle Weaver, and it's got Ella Woods and Daniel Calloway. We've got some great agents there. What we do is we have a customer touch program that's over 100 touches per year. And we plan it out at the beginning of the year for the full year. It's in the calendar. There's exactly what it's costs, what it's supposed to do. And like everybody should do this. It's just natural business planning.
Some of it's electronic.
So mail, email, text, phone call, client appreciation event, drop by on a rotation. But when we see them, they know that we care. When they come into one of our events and we're meeting with them and we're hanging out and we get to see their family and they're bringing their friends as well, they know. You can tell when someone's genuinely interested in you and when they're just there to try to get a transaction off of you. You can tell.
Right.
And we're very much relational.
So one of the things you do is you guys have regular past client events. Is that what I'm hearing?
We did before COVID. And now that we've passed it off to the team, we haven't been as good with it because we've been so focused on building all these other businesses because we realize we can have an even bigger impact by helping agents grow even faster and have a bigger impact through them versus just doing it all internally ourselves.
Okay. So you have a mapped out plan for the year, marketing just on past clients.
Yeah.
Touches, or I wouldn't say that necessarily, maybe just someone who walked in the open house, they may be somewhat looking half-heartedly right now, but you're touching them.
Yeah.
100 times.
Yeah.
100 times a year.
Yeah, they get put into the database and they just get, a lot of it can be automated.
Roughly twice a week.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Every holiday, touching them. Okay.
And they love it. I mean, it's not stuff that's going to waste their time. It's not spam. It's stuff that they actually care about.
Now, were you with Weichert right up to Momentum in 2020 when you started?
No, I was at Weichert, and then I wanted to learn how to build a team.
Oh, that's right, KW. Yeah, okay. All right, you went to KW, and you started doing some coaching there.
I was their youngest mastery coach, I believe, and that propelled my business forward. I was a mega camp speaker 2 years in a row. I spoke about profitability of small teams, and then review, repeat, and referral business, because people were trying to figure out how are these agents growing so fast, so profitably, and I still see them on social media going on vacation for 3 months of the year. Right. How are you doing that, right? And so we are teaching and coaching a lot of the agents in the marketplace. Up until that point, we were paid to go around and teach these classes in other states and other locations throughout Florida. So when we opened, there was just a line out of the door with real estate agents who wanted to learn how did they do it so fast, right? Some people, that takes them 10, 15, 20 years to get to that point. How do you do it in 3.5 years?
So in a way, and you probably, maybe you thought of this at the beginning, but you developed through the tour, through speaking, that was a way for you to gain exposure to your influence and credibility.
It wasn't on purpose. Let me just...
Right. Yeah. You started doing it, and you're realizing, all these people are, they're following you on social media, they're going to your events, they're listening to everything you say. Because let me tell you, when Miss Beal, when I listened to her, and I can see, obviously, she's learned. I just assume, I don't know the two of you personally, but she's learned a lot from you and your team quickly, and at her very young age, is so high level. Just listening to her answer your questions when you were talking to her, and then watching you guys are on another level. You're on a level that even trust me, there's people that never reach that level. But what amazes me and is so exciting about it is because one of the things you mentioned was personal development.
Yeah.
To get when you're out there coaching and talking to these people, you have to be confident. You have to know your stuff, and then you got to actually be able to put it out. Explain it to them, right? And getting up and talking. That's not easy.
Yeah. You have to have work ethic, and you have to have the intellect too to be able to serve. And that's part of the problem of the real estate industry in general, is that the standards to get into the industry are so low. I mean, I think I got my license in 1 week, and with less than $1,000, I was able to launch, and I'm managing someone's largest financial transaction. Well, I'm used to managing financial transactions that can be up to $1 billion. And I have to have all these licenses, and it can take a very long time. Here I'm managing someone's largest financial asset, and I can be in the business in 1 week.
Right.
And that is where a lot of the problems stem. And people think it's easy, and they don't know what it is when they get into it. And then they realize that it's all about lead generation and caring about people.
Right. That made me think, is it easy? Did anyone ever tell you, because I have agents on here who clearly stated, friends of theirs told them they couldn't do it. I don't think you ever had. You seem to be too strong of a guy. You were steamrolling through everything you were doing.
My wife had that happen to her.
Yeah.
And you should interview her.
Right,
her story is unbelievable. So that happened to her, and that lit a fire under her. And in her first year, she sold 66 buyer clients in 2018. 100% buyers while I went off and did the listing side. Wow. And she did that all in her first year, and that wasn't on accident. So that it was fueled because someone told her that she would never succeed.
Never be good at it. It's just
use it as fuel. I mean,
yeah, there's no doubt you have to use it as fuel. And just that people will do that. And it wasn't like she was going to go, hey, I'm going to go skydive, or I'm going to, for a living or something. And someone's like, oh no, I don't want you to do that, because maybe one time the shoot won't. Hey, how far can you go as a real estate agent? And then if she fails, but you don't. Why would you tell somebody that I don't know.
It's just a reflection of themselves.
Exactly.
I think they're just talking about themselves at that point.
You talk about personal development in the podcast. And what do? You gave me this great book here. If everyone, I'm gonna have to read this now. I'm reading Tim Tebow's book right now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So as soon as I finish up with that, I'll dive into that one. But tell me, what do you? Are you a podcast books? What do you do to stay sharp?
I turned off the news.
Yes, I did that too.
Yeah, I have my life back, and I have very low stress levels, so I don't do the news. So what I do to stay up to date is I listen to a lot of podcasts, like the All In podcast, which is a great one. I like Tim Ferriss. I read about a book a week, and I get them from people that are further along in the journey from me, and I ask them, what's something that's made an impact for you, and they they send me a book or I go buy the book.
Do you like reading the hardcover? I mean,
I can't. I have to listen to them.
You have to listen to them? Okay.
I can't sit for that long. So usually I'll be walking around the neighborhood, trying to,
listen,
habit stack. So I'm like getting the exercise and listening to the book.
Get your steps in and listen to the books. But I mean, how do you, I think a lot of people miss out on that. There's some people that have gotten successful and they've picked up their personal development, or just, maybe they were just brought up that way. I don't know. They're there, but majority of us need something. And to me, when you listen, take the information out of Ryan's book, or take the Aaron Grant's card, or Justin Donald's book right here, and you take it and you osmose some of that into you, it's energy. And obviously some mental power too, which makes you feel good. And it gets you through the day, gets you through the week. You're now out in front of people, and they look at you, and this guy's got it going on. He looks good. He feels good. He's confident about himself. I think a lot of people miss that part. I mean, obviously, exercise gives you a little bit of that too, but there also has to be some mental exercise.
So at first, I thought personal development was so lame.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can't tell. I was one of those. So I get those people that are like, oh. And then I started going to these conferences, and I'd come out of the conference, and I would have a different perspective. And it wasn't on purpose. It was just from being in the room and hearing through osmosis, just being there. And I'd kind of be like, I think that worked a little bit. Like, I hated it, but it worked. And then it just kind of stuck with me. Like, I'm getting really good at this. I'm getting better. And so I just started becoming a junkie. So now I go to like a conference almost every month to go meet with speakers and everything like that. Like Ryan Serhant, I'm meeting him at the end of the month.
Yeah. Where's he
down
speaking
in
at?
Miami for a Go Abundance event. Yeah, he's one of the keynote speakers. So that cool. That kind of stuff and that access you get access to, it just really inspires you.
Because obviously, unless someone gave you the ticket, you're investing in yourself. You're going to go down there. You're going to spend a couple nights in a hotel. It might cost you a couple $1,000s to go to the event, and maybe there might be out of two, I don't know how many days, it's a 2-day event or something like that?
It's like 4 or 5. Yeah.
It's a long time.
It's longer. Yeah.
So out of all that, maybe there's like an hour that if you were able to just fly right in and be there for that hour, is all the information that you actually like, ooh, that's new, I need to implement it, or ooh, gave you some energy. But you have to spend some money on yourself and some time to get those nuggets. They're not just, someone's not just going to give you a list, here's all the gold. You have to do some digging.
Yeah, and I wouldn't even say it's about the conference. It's just about the people you meet there. Mm-hmm. So most of the time I'm meeting people in the hallways that have become some of my best friends, or I start investing with them in private companies, stuff like that, just because I was there. And the guys who are growing the fastest are the ones that are doing the largest level of personal development. And gals, I would say both.
So, well, give us a tip here. I don't know, maybe you don't even think about this, because obviously I go to, the last big one I went to was where I was, just not something controlled by the company, but just random. I went to the podcast movement in Nashville last August, and there's you got to find the people who are the people. You know what I'm saying? There's a bunch of followers, a bunch of people are going to go there who are real estate agents in the area, just going to go there, but they're not the success that you want to hang out with. How do you find those people in those events?
You just talk to people. It's just like an open house. You just see, you ask a lot of questions. So I don't usually talk about myself very much. I usually am just like, who are you? Like, how'd you end up here? What do you have going on in your life? Like, what brought you out to this event? Like, just being like a normal person, like you should.
Right.
Instead of the person that, sits in their room and just goes to the conference and then runs back up to the room. I did that at first. And then I started realizing there's not a lot of value in that. The value is finding other growth-minded individuals to surround yourself with. And sometimes they're not in your marketplace. So you have to go to them.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, you can outgrow your market a little bit, and I think even if you think about some people who may be listening to this, you may outgrow the people in your office to where you are. I'm going to use this term because I steal from Mortgage Marketing Analysts. You may be the stallion, and you're hanging out. There's a bunch of ponies in your office, and you've got to go out and find the other stallions to hang with, to surround yourself by those people.
Yeah. I mean, that's the number one conversation, is that you hit a natural peak of achievement at your office and you have no one left to learn from. What do you do?
Right.
So you can either go to outside resources or you can switch companies to get access to different people.
Who do you hang with? And I ask this question because, again, it's one of those common things. I'm hearing common themes. I see a lot of these top agents out hanging out together. They may be from different brokerages, but they're going out and having a glass of wine in the evening or going to have lunch or whatever, or maybe their families are hanging out. I see it on social media. They're doing it. Who do you look to hang out with? Besides your
My
wife,
kids.
obviously.
Yeah, I mean, my daughter and I are at the zoo every Saturday, or the alligator farm. So I spend a lot of time with my.
You have an
with my
annual
family.
pass at the alligator farm?
I do, yeah, I sure do. You better believe it. She loves gators and snakes. I mean, she's my world right now. So,
Right.
and my son Jackson as well, and with Brittany. So I really spend the most of the time with Brittany. I don't spend as much time out networking as you would think. A lot of it has been in creating content that people are interested in, and then traveling to the conferences to meet. So I go do the
So you
trainings.
bundle it in a conference, and you go and when you're there at conference because your daughter's not with you.
Yeah, I have to be super intentional with my time. But I don't do a lot of social stuff when it comes to the business side of it. I'd rather do it on the personal side.
Well, you have, I mean, some of the people, because I've obviously had a few of them on. I mean, and I'm sure there's more as I dig through your, I don't want to call you staff, but your team. There's a lot of people that hang out there. There's a lot of brilliant people that you've brought into the fold, and that you're surrounding yourself on a daily basis, even in the casual work environment, that are pushing it. And obviously following you, and I assume they're following you and motivated by you, but they're bringing in a lot of brilliance too.
Yeah, they bring it. You know, there's me and Brittany. We're spending a lot of time with them, and the energy level at Momentum is so infectious. The
Right.
agents are just growing, and they inspire each other, and they challenge each other to do more. And it's collaborative. It's not competitive, and that's different from the offices that I came from.
All right. So you recently, or I mean, I didn't actually look at the time schedule. You started your own Integrity Mortgage Group.
So we started a mortgage branch
Okay.
in May 2020, which was an interesting time to start a branch because all the guidelines were changing, as you know.
Yeah.
And then we also opened a JV title relationship as well. So what we're doing at Momentum is we're building the bundle of services because there is more money in mortgage and title than there is in real estate. So just by an agent joining this platform, the ecosystem actually has more profitability in it. So our long-term vision is, how do the agents get a piece of the pie, the full pie, just by changing platforms? Because there's not a current platform that has all of them set up and that the agent benefits from.
Right.
So that's our long-term vision with the company.
Which obviously we're here with a large builder. Their benefit as us as their I mean the package deal. Obviously, the title companies downstairs. But how do you obviously, I mean, you guys seem to be doing enough deals to obviously keep a few loan officers busy if all your agents are referring 100. One of the things that in my loan officer world, naysays this situation that you got here is that because you are tagged, just like I'm tagged with my lender and my builder here, as we discussed pre-show.
Yeah.
I assume, is your model just to work your agents? And I mean, your agents, giving enough back and they see the benefit in that? Because, obviously some agents, they have their, I think Miss Beal has her relationship outside of the circle here that we're talking about. So how do you motivate your agents to try to keep it in-house and let them understand that there's a whole circle of profits here that is going to benefit you and come back to you?
Yeah, so first off, we would be really careful because there's RESPA, right?
Yeah.
So there's like the way that you structure it and the way that you're able to participate. We don't push anybody to do anything they don't want to do. So that's like the first thing. We don't even talk about it. It's not even a conversation. We just say, here's our preferred vendor partners, and if you're interested in sharing with them, here's who they are. And the goal is to give such great service that we get the repeat business, and that's where the money is.
So if I'm an agent sitting in front of you right now, I mean, it's a business model, okay? I mean,
Sure.
If we keep it in-house, this, we're going to create additional revenues, which I can then, obviously not take as much as your commission, right? Type of thing. We could open more offices. I don't know. What is the pitch that a new agent, that you give them of because obviously you're selling the benefits of Momentum, but I'm sure you're mentioning the title company and so forth.
We're
as a
really
package.
not.
Not?
Yeah,
No.
we don't even talk about it.
Okay.
I mean,
I'm digging deep in here because I'm trying to figure out this.
I I don't have a secret sauce. It's just, look, if you see value what we're doing, here's two preferred vendor partners that can make this move faster if you choose to do so. But a lot of our agents are top agents.
Yeah.
Like the majority of them already have their relationships. They've been around for a while. I'm not going to try to compete with that. And I don't want to. The goal is, first off, their business and that they come first. So whatever they choose to do is up to them. If they want to hear this option that's available, they can come to me about it.
I'm curious how someone, an owner in your position, how you present that. But I think you probably do it the same way a lot of them do. Is, hey, you're coming to Momentum. This is what Momentum's giving you as an agent. Integrity's office is down the hall there. If you want to, go talk to them, they're there.
Yeah, if you're interested in connecting, here's the relationship. Yeah, we're not pushy. It's not what the business model is based off of, but long term, it's what we're building is that total ecosystem.
You brought your wife on. She didn't start with you. She came on a couple of years after you, right? How long were you?
So 2016, 2017, it was just me, and then being a bad leader and trying to figure out how to be a good sales leader and falling on my face and getting a coach and getting it coached out of. Oh. And then 2018, she came in. So it was like late 2017, 2018.
So what was Brittany doing prior to?
She was an investment banker.
Okay.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So she was doing the same thing, and she's also a CPA. And so when she came in, we said, look, husband-wife team, we're going to murder each other because we're both high achiever learner profiles.
Right.
How do we split this up? She took all buyers. I took all sellers. We had an ISA. And from there, it just exploded. Because she's also relational based. It's not transactional. We really care about the people that we work with.
I mean, tell us something that you can tell us. You're in business with your wife.
Sure.
An idea that you had, or maybe she had, that the other totally disagreed with. And was it shot down and actually moved forward? Because I imagine her idea probably moved forward. Your idea got shot down, but that would be the obvious guess. But give us something where you guys actually had a little bit of you didn't see eye to eye. It didn't. The other one's like, no, we ain't doing that.
I would say almost everything. So she's an editor type. Right. So, and I'm a visionary type. So I put out 5 visions a day, and then she's like, that's stupid, that's not half bad, right? And then so she's like, let's do that one. So
that sounds like me and my wife.
It's a healthy relationship because she can kind of gameplay it out, and then she's also the integrator, so she's the one that needs to go execute it and wants to go execute it. Right. So it has to make sense, and so she's been phenomenal. I mean, she is momentum at this point. It's just
you and I
incredible.
Are at 30,000 feet. We're seeing all these opportunities and things. We're coming up with these. There was a word for it. And I was watching Steve Harvey clip the other day, and Steve Harvey, the guy said the word, and I try to remember what it was, and Steve Harvey's like, "What? I only had a high school education. What's that word you said?" And basically it was having these ideas, these visions that we have, and we spit them out, and then we have a wife that actually goes, "This can be executed. This is not going to be." Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, all this has been built in the last 2 years, and we're on track for $800 million. We've got a mortgage branch and a title JV, and that all happened within 2 years. I can't do that on my own. I have to have incredible people like Brittany, who's going to see it, implement it, help fix it when it breaks or when it grows and evolves over time. So a lot of it is like we're experimenting. We're on the cutting edge of like what we think will work next, and we're testing the things that work. We then share with our real estate agents. And
I imagine, like anything, because of the volume you're doing, to do little tweaks and see if they work, you can see that pretty quickly because you are versus I got transaction here, transaction. You don't. It's hard to follow any tweaks where you're having so many, and then obviously having so many great people to execute it. Tell us the structure of the you just got one office right now? Are you opening others? Or is a lot of people working virtually? What's that whole setup as far as
So it's completely virtual. So we have a co-working space. Our agents work virtually. We're actually in 14 locations throughout Florida. We're a top 10 brokerage in Gainesville as well, Gainesville, Florida. And the agents keep being attracted to the business model and the content that we put out there, and they reach out and they say, look, I want to have that type of growth too. and then they join us, and they don't really have any issue being virtual. There's other companies that have proven to be virtual. You don't need to spend all that money on the overhead for the office. Right. We've considered it like 3 or 4 times, and then we realize we drive by the other offices that are the big ones in town. There's no one in there. We're like, why are you paying 20 to 30% more in your splits to have an office that you never go to?
Right.
What is the additional benefit that you're actually receiving for paying 3 to 4 times more?
How often does the local group, you guys get together? I mean, do you have like a monthly social or something just to see each other and share?
We do. We get together quite a bit. It is virtual, so if anybody needs anything, they just call me or Brittany or Michelle Weaver or somebody. Or we have this really active Facebook group where people answer each other's questions. So there's never a point within a 24-hour period you wouldn't get what you need anyway. It's just you're getting it virtually versus having to spend an hour driving across town to have that same exact conversation. Or we jump on Zoom and share screen and we solve it there. So we don't really see it being necessary. But we do get together, like you might see on Facebook, we get together for lunches and trainings and all that kind of stuff, probably twice a month that we like to do it, just because we love our people. And when we meet with them, they share with us their struggles, and then we go out and find the solutions for them and bring it back to them. That
is so important. I mean, that's a microcosm of any office, really. I mean, if you think about... You have to, I think the last couple of years is really, we think it's easy working from home and so forth. But over time, the mind starts working on you. You have to go and we're humans, we're social people, social animals. And you have to have some interaction and to see your reaction and talk to you. Or it could be on one-on-one on the screen. You're having a conversation. But at least you're seeing each other's face versus sight unseen. You're forgotten almost because someone gets so busy. Oh, I haven't talked to someone in a couple weeks. And you need that little bit of interaction more. Some people more than others. You started recently, and I saw the Facebook Ascend group. Explain the Ascend group to Momentum
Champions.
Yes.
Yeah. So none of this has been planned. It's all been from experimenting and see what works. I just want to be clear on that. We had no intention for it to come through like this, but for our first 2 years, we rejected agents that produce less than 10 units in their first year. Because we said if you produce less than 10, you're probably part-time or you're not able to provide good enough service because you don't have enough reps. And we didn't really have a training platform for new agents.
Right.
Because we didn't want to. Because our level of conversation that we get excited about is people who have businesses that want to grow them and scale them and live a big life and have a lifestyle and profitability. That's our message and that's our conversation, the stuff that we talk about. But we had a point where we looked back at the data and the data said you had 200 people that you denied from the company. And we said, well, that's a business opportunity because we just created another brokerage for somebody else. And so we said, what if we created a brokerage or an LLC group for new agents and part-time agents that still fit the culture, still have a growth mindset, just are not at that level of production. Because there are a lot of people that we sent away to go get trained in other companies. They came back saying, well, I still want to be here. I just, I need to get the production.
I'll show you I can do it.
So what we said was, why don't we give our agents who are the top producers at our company an opportunity to buy into this new company that we're launching.
Okay.
So there's 22 investors that bought in for $10,000 a pop into this new entity, and those investors also are required for 3 hours per month to give their time to those new agents. So now you have this immediate, it's working really well. You've got a group of people that really care about training the next crop of real estate agents. This also is good for the mission.
Makes them sharper because they got to stay on top of the game.
They can
they're
recruit
go
them to their team.
Yeah.
They can recruit them to their team. They can use them as showing agents. They can get them to do the groundwork around open houses. They can, they can teach them by showing and doing versus sitting in a classroom for 5 hours listening to somebody that wrote a textbook.
This sounds like an idea
20
I
years
would have
ago.
came up with.
And
that's what I love.
It's working, and people are trying. I mean, we think we had 3 more people join today, so it's our first month. We have about 15 people in Ascend. They pay more than the Momentum platform, but they can graduate out of it once they hit a certain level of production. So Ascend is for 0 to 12 units. Once you get 12 units in a calendar year, you can graduate into Momentum Elite. Momentum Elite is 12 units to 30 units, and then once you pass 30 units, about 8 million in volume, you can become a Momentum Champion, and that's when you get access to phantom stock units. and that ties you to the upside of Momentum's growth. So we're double rewarding these top agents with investment opportunities that they wouldn't be able to get elsewhere. Well, what can I do with that 220 that they just gave me? I can go buy a commercial property that we can underwrite together as a group. We can create a hedge fund. We can buy stock. We can do whatever we want as a group, and the money that it makes, from Ascend goes back to those investors that invested in it. So we built this ecosystem that feeds and trains itself, and it's not perfect. It's our first month, but
I like
over
I like
a
the
year
concept.
from now, it'll be phenomenal.
You explained that very well. I picked up on that exactly what you. I mean, I don't know the inner workings of real estate brokerage, and obviously, when you have different agents come to you, the different splits and how you're doing that, you can stay more uniform. And obviously they understand the graduation, almost like that promotion to go to Momentum.
Yep.
I've reached this. Imagine they're making more per transaction in Momentum than obviously in Send, because you're spending a lot of time and energy training them. You have to have a different platform that has to cater to them. To the new agent. That's brilliant. I love that.
And the reason it came about, it was something that was in the back of me and Brittany's mind since the beginning, because at our company we asked for ownership, and we wanted ownership of the ancillary services too, because we knew how much money they had been making, and we were like, we can't get this at a big box. There's no way you're getting any sort of ownership of the company or anything else unless you buy out that entire franchise, and most of them are already locked up. So we always are thinking, what's the next thing that we can do to reward our people that's not a trophy and is actually something that's valuable to them and their family long term, and that would be additional investment opportunities that they can't get anywhere else.
Right. And just the high level, golly, oh man, because you're such a brilliant guy, and I imagine the things for these guys to be around you and follow in the nuggets that you're dropping on the floor that they can scoop up, and that's powerful stuff. You mentioned several times in this conversation already, content.
Yeah.
And obviously those watching social media and content, this is content we're providing right here. This is going to be, it's in video. We're going to have it on audio. It's going to be spliced up in reels. There's content being put out there, but you were also referencing content directly to these people in Ascend and Momentum for teaching purposes, directly. How important, what percentage of time, or something, I'm sure you probably have something, how you relate this to them, should agents be spending on education and receiving good content?
So first thing, in terms of how much money you should spend on your education, for me, it's 10% of my income, regardless of how much money I make. And that's been something that I've done since the beginning. But how much time you should spend, I think that you should also habit stack. So when you're going for a run or a walk, you should be listening to educational, personal development content. I mean, the people who are going the fastest, again, they're doing the personal development work. They're doing the inner work that then is creating the outer circumstances 100%. That happen. The people who don't, who usually have big egos, they think they can do everything themselves. They don't need any sort of personal development. They know everything.
They know it all.
They know it all. Those aren't the people that we have at Momentum. So right. We actually have rejected some $8 and $12 million producers because they just reach out and then, they're like, I already know how to do everything. I'm just coming because you guys are really affordable. We say, well, that's probably not the right fit. There's other companies that you can go to that would be a better fit for that, because this company is about personal development, personal growth, because you're going to be able to serve your customers better. You're going to scale better. You're going to have a better lifestyle.
You don't know what you don't know. And for someone, when someone says, I know it all, I'm sorry, our businesses are constantly evolving. The current market condition, you and I are like, we couldn't even envision the current market condition, say, just 2 years ago, to say, oh yeah, in 2 years, it could be like this, because we've never seen this before. And, how offers are being structured, which is the best deal coming in for your buyer, your seller, and so forth. These things are constantly in motion, and you got to surround yourself with other people who are doing it, because this situation over here, you may never ever see it again. But if you do, you were already in that circle and someone already told you that story, and you call, hey, how did you handle that deal? This is similar to what I got right now. They miss out on that because they're just, again, they think they know it all. You just don't. I don't know anyone that could say. Einstein obviously never had that attitude. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're not in the business of changing people. So we would rather just pick all the growth-minded people, get them into a room, and have conversations about variables that actually matter, not the stuff that's all the smoke and mirrors that doesn't matter, which unfortunately a lot of other companies, here's a trophy, here's volume, here's units. And that's an indicator, right? That's an important metric, but it doesn't tell the whole story. So we dig deeper, and we were very focused on the transparency conversations.
Yeah, there's the recognition, but as you get older, it's like, yeah, recognize me with some cash. You know, I've got expenses. I got a college fund over here I'm funding. I'm thinking about retiring. Yeah, the recognition, makes me feel good for a moment, but it doesn't pay the bills.
How much cooler would it be to say I'm an equity owner of this company, and I'm an investor in this new company that we launched, and I'm actually spending time making the community better, versus just getting a trophy. You know, it's just different. And we saw that because we got a ton. I mean, we were leaving with tons of trophies at all these events, and we're like, we threw them away. Yeah. We're like, this is cool.
I don't have enough room in my house for all this stuff, and then I got to dust them.
The feeling good has an expiration date. It's just, it's like, it might be tomorrow. So like, it feel good in the moment, everybody claps, and then you walk off the stage and you're like, yeah, I didn't really feel good because my bank account doesn't reflect what the trophy is saying.
Right.
And so you're rewarding the wrong metric.
Well, when you start to personally develop, you start to understand that. And obviously, I'm sure you've talked, whether it's Grant Cardone or anything, what is your value? And, what is it, if you're out there teaching they're teaching the momentum, what's the top level again?
Champions.
The champions are teaching the Ascend because they have a stake in the Ascend's success.
Correct.
Versus, hey, I got you up there. Great, you got a trophy, and I'll pat you on the back. Yeah, I mean, that's great and all, but if you really want to go deep, you really want to go long term, it's having that vested interest in your success is really where it's at.
Yeah, and in a sustainable, long-term focused business, not something that they're trying to just get a quick, get rich quick scheme, because that usually doesn't work out the way they think. So
we just got talking about education and its importance. You're constantly trying to provide content, cutting edge.
Every day.
Whether bringing speakers, I think you mentioned TEDx talks.
Yeah, we had 2 TEDx speakers come in. We had Eric Maddox, the guy who captured Saddam Hussein, that did the interrogations that led to his capture. And then we had Anil Gupta, who wrote the book on the happiness formula. So
you actually physically brought them in?
I paid out of my own pocket $12,000 to fly these guys in and help our agents live a better life. I mean, Brittany and I started this. We had expectations of just having 4 agents by the end of the year. We'd be super happy, and it just exploded. And we said, look, we're going to reinvest the money back into these agents' lives and their personal development. And a lot of times they've got kids, so they don't want to move. They don't want to have to travel for 3 to 4 days and have the leverage to be able to do that and leave their business. So we'd rather just bring the people here and do it somewhere local, so it'll just take 2 or 3 hours of their time.
If you're listening to this podcast right now, which I know John has a great following, so there probably is a lot. I mean, I think you have to look at that because you're small in the size. You're not Keller Williams. You're not Caldwell Banker or anything like that. You're Momentum, and for you, because you basically. You and Brittany could have put that $12,000 in your pocket, put it in your kid's college fund, went and bought yourself a new car, or invested, or towards a new car, and towards a new investment property. But you turned in and obviously saw something in that speaker and physically brought him here, to make that physical impact on your people versus watching a video or a webinar. Physically bring them. That just shows your dedication to the success of everyone and impacting, because those dollars came directly out of you and Brittany's pocket.
The company pays for them, but we are reinvesting. We don't have recruiters. We don't recruit people. We create content, and if people are interested, they reach out to us. You'll never see us make a phone call or anything like that. But we bring educational opportunities that you wouldn't be able to get elsewhere. And that is part of the value prop. And we're putting our money back into the agents' businesses. We do it in multiple ways. We also help them implement their touch programs. We have something called the Focus Program. We send out two mailers, two emails and a mailer each month, and we pay for their mailers. And we do that ourselves. Right. So I'm investing in your business. Not only am I investing in your personal development, I'm actually
because you're hiring them at a high level. Program. You expect a certain thing. You're going to help them get to another level, but they've already got that groundwork. But the a lot of, I think the average brokerage around here would have found some lender, some title company, all the other vendors that support to pay for that speaker to come in, and you went and brought him in personally.
I personally feel, this is me, so like it's a big statement, but I personally feel that like 99% of brokers do not care a crap about their agents at all, and it's just a business for them to make as much money as possible and do as little work as possible.
They go through the motions to make it look like you're providing some content, but they're not even evaluating the content if it's even valuable. It's just,
it's not. We already know it's not. That's why there's so many people moving from place to place.
Right.
It's a reflection of leadership's ability to provide value to those people that are in their business, and if they're not providing enough value, they're going to dip out.
That's one of the number one things when I talk to people about what's about their brokerage. All of them think they have top education things. It's like the number one thing. And so I often say, well, let's take education off the table, because everyone's going to tell you their education is provided. But I think if you're looking for, speaking to our audience here, if you're an agent who's not with Momentum and you're looking around for some, matter of fact, I did chat with my wife a little bit about her and her good friend. You're kind of on their radar screen. They're looking at you, watching what you're doing. To listen what John's telling you here, and how dedicated him and Brittany are to this success. And these are two brilliant people, really. I mean, it's amazing. I don't know how the two of you guys get in your house every night, because you guys got so much going on. Not that you have big egos. It's just you have amazing amount of energy coming off of you. How you actually can sit in a room together. I don't, because I think you're both A personalities, aren't you?
We have this whiteboard at home, and we communicate business through the whiteboard, so we can write it down, so we don't have to tell each other what to do. We just put it on our whiteboard and it gets done.
But man, that's amazing. I think I'm gonna take that idea. I might have to put a whiteboard in my house.
We've got a lot of tips for couple teams that to not destroy it. We had to do a lot of coaching on it. To make sure that we don't self-destruct. And we never came close to anything like that, but we were like, we want to be proactive.
You want to be proactive.
We want to be proactive on this.
Yeah. No doubt. All right, so education, solid. John's putting money into it, serious money, bringing obviously top people in. We talked about surrounding yourself by successful people. You like going to events. Hopefully you're going to go down and shake hands with a Ryan Serhant, and the people that follow, his crumbs that are around him, his entourage, or at high levels as well, because he's hanging around high people. So even just being the presence of these people, that's how you like to do it. Consistency is another common theme that I hear from a lot of the top agents. What would you say in your business? What are you doing? Consistency, and you're not a door knocker, but if you're a door knocker, if that's what you do, great. But what are you doing? Do you think that you and Brittany are doing that is keeping the momentum in momentum? I like that. All right, what is it? What are you consistently doing to just keep that fire going?
Investing in our people, in creating valuable content that will lead to meaningful change. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's it. I mean, invest in them. That's it.
So I'm an agent. I'm thinking about, and they're meeting your minimum scale there for Momentum.
Sure.
Thinking about coming over, and they sit down, and obviously you're the agent's doing great production. They're not. They don't think they know everything, but what's the first thing or typically
good question.
You haven't even finished the question yet. The guy
already know it. Yeah.
What are you telling them that you're going to add to their?
So the first thing that we need to do when you come in is do a strength finder assessment, because I need to know how you operate as a human being in the lens that you see the world. Because if I don't understand that, I'm not going to be able to communicate with you correctly, and I'm not going to be able to coach you up in the business.
Much like the
It's like a disc test.
The disc.
The disc is okay. I go after strength finders.
Strength finders is what you use, but similar idea of why you're doing that.
Yeah, so I'm collecting data. So the first data you collect is like, who are you? How do you operate? The second piece of data is, what's your track record? So I want to know, what did you do before you got into real estate? When you got into real estate, what was your production? Where were your sales? How much were your sales? I make them send me an Excel spreadsheet with every sale that they've done since the beginning of time. Most people don't have it, which means I automatically know that they don't have an effective touch program. Right. So we start filling in the gap by just finding the data, and then we do a business plan. And we come up with, based on your personality, based on what you've done in the past, here's the top 3 levers for lead generation that you should be pulling on. And by the way, no, it's not usually online leads. And they take those and we test them. They go out to the marketplace for a week or 2 and they test what we talked about. And if there's something that they really enjoy doing, because that's what makes you have it be a strength. So there's 3 E's. It's called ease, excellence, and enjoyment. You have to have all 3 for it to be a strength. Ease means it just comes to you easily. Excellence means you do it better than anybody else. And enjoyment means you love doing it. Like you wouldn't regret doing it when you wake up in the morning. Like this podcast for you. So what you would want to do is, if you don't enjoy it, as we all know, if you don't stay consistent with it, no matter what it is, you're never going to have success if you don't have consistency.
Right. And if you don't enjoy it, you're just going to give up at some point and some little pressure comes against it.
Yep. So there's 34 different strengths. There's different ways that those connect. We match them up with the 21 different lead generation levers and say, start with these 3 first and try them. Usually that's enough to get people set off in the right direction.
Interesting.
And we do that with a business plan. Then our next step is we look at their profit and loss, which I can tell you most people do not do at all. And they don't know how much money they made until the end of the year. And if you're listening to that, well, we can help. And there's ways that you can save a ton of money just by having us go over your profit and loss statement with you, and just by you doing that exercise to have the awareness of where does your money actually go. Number one thing I hear from agents and loan officers too, because they're in sales, they go out and spend money on the car, the house, all that kind of stuff. Do you actually know where your money is going, and would you advise someone else to do what you did with your money? So we go and sit down deeply and figure out, like, what is your actual profit goal this year? Not volume in units. What is your profit? And then we back into volume units based on what happened to them in the past. So we are doing a full-on business plan, data and analysis.
If I was going to become a real estate agent, he sold me on that right there. Because I don't know. Maybe there's someone else doing it, but they ain't preaching it. I can tell you that.
This is what I was doing that was different at my company before. And the profit conversation was my conversation. And I was pushing it, and I was heard, but nothing was being done about it. So I had to have our own platform to be able to coach the profit.
They didn't understand it.
Most people do not make as much money as they think, and they got the trophy, their bank account 0, and they don't know when their next check's coming in.
Right.
And that is the norm.
Right.
And so that's why we call it a false idol. Because if they're up here sharing everything that they've done, but their bank account's 0, then you're modeling off of somebody that's at 0. Or in debt, even worse. And there's nothing wrong with it, right? So we don't judge you for where you're at. We actually want to help you get out of that. And there's a lot of agents that come to Momentum. They're like, I'm financially free. Like, I'm getting really close to being financially free because the platform is coaching to that.
Where did you get that?
It came from pain, watching other people struggle with this.
So
and it's my skill set.
You had this.
It's Brittany's skill set.
Brittany's skill set.
Yeah.
Well, she's the accountant, right? She's
we're numbers people. We're in Excel spreadsheets all day. I mean, our agents hate it. They're like, would you please get out of Excel? But the data tells the story. The numbers tell the story. If you don't have the numbers, there's no story to be told. It's a lie.
We're right at an hour, but give me an example of someone who you can recall recently that came in.
Yeah.
That took the test, and you said, do these 3 things.
Yeah.
What was one of the things that they were really good at, and then they just almost immediately saw a return?
Yeah, this wouldn't be the perfect
we don't have to
example.
mention names, but
it's an agent in Gainesville. She was rated the #1 agent in Gainesville the year before. She was at a big box brokerage and sold about $3.8 million. She came to us and sold $22 million the next year.
Holy cow!
She paid off all of her debt, which is over $100,000, and she bought an investment property cash, and she bought a car cash, and now she's financially free, building a team, and she's going to be the #1 in that market.
What was her little thing?
And she's not even in our market. So this is how you can see you can get the value from Momentum not even being local.
In St. Johns County, yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, like, what was her couple little things?
So she
maybe
did need to be on online leads, because for her marketplace, I mean, my wife and I were buying $70,000 a month of online leads. We understand the lead game. Like we understand the team and the structure and the margins and all that stuff. We're not teaching anything. We would never teach anything we haven't done ourselves or really know, because then we're a false idol. Or if we didn't know, we'd go out and find somebody else that's an expert and bring them in and have them speak to it and make sure that they're valid first. But yes, the first thing that she needed to do, because her price point in her area is not as competitive as our local market. If she split with a lender and started doing these leads, I mean, and our hypothesis was correct, and she crushed it. She is so good at providing service that everyone she works with, just like Brittany,
started referring her.
Every person that Brittany works with, she
one
gets a
online
referral.
need became multiple deals because of her service.
And now she's turned it off. And she only needed to do it 1.5 years to change the trajectory of her whole life. Wow. And now she's all referral based.
From roughly 4 million to 22 million
1 year.
Gainesville.
1 year.
Yeah. I mean, was it a lot more transactions, or just getting into the? It
was more transaction and price point. We did all
combination of both.
Yes.
Wow,
and she's very scientific too. I mean, she had to put the work in, but she wasn't doing the right things. So what we're good at figuring out is which variables matter for you. Have you tried this? Have you tried that? And if the agent's willing to do the work,
John, are
the
you
chance
doing
of
this
it happening is
are you doing this with your lending side?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we have the same.
I'd really like to see the
lending is different. And I can explain that maybe offline if you want. But I can explain to you. I can share what I've learned. learned.
Okay, you share what you learned.
All
right, we are right at an hour. I'm gonna wrap this up. If I'm a new realtor, I'm a realtor right now. I'm like trying to find out where John is, and let me tell you, that is, I mean, talk about dedicated to your people and that assessment. And I mean, that obviously, I'm sure you have other stories, but that Gainesville story is like that. That's
one. I mean,
that one there is just like so amazing. Just change this. 4 million to 22 million as a real estate agent. You're in another zip code.
That's becoming the norm. Or even an agent that comes in and they're at X production and they do the same production the next year, but their profit's 3 times higher. Right? So like, who cares about volume and units? Like, who actually, it doesn't matter. It's your net, and then what you do with the net. Are you investing it? Are you building actual cash flowing assets and things like that?
All right. These are I call my 2-minute warning questions. Just ask these all the time. Is it more important who you know or what you know?
It's who knows what you know.
Who knows what you know? That's an interesting answer. Did you practice that one first? You knew this was coming. Explain.
If you know something, but nobody else knows that you know it, it doesn't matter.
No.
If you know a lot of people, but you know nothing, then it doesn't matter. So it's who knows what you know. So people know that I know how to help them get profitable in real estate.
I like that.
So who needs to know that? Agents that are struggling to be profitable. Maybe you're listening to this and you're saying, look, I really do want to change. It's been too long that I've been at this level, or I'm peaking at my company, or they are rewarding the wrong things. And I notice that, and I want to be profitable, and you can make a change.
So just so agents watching this right now going, man, whoa, that was high level stuff. They want to sit down with you and Brittany. What's the best way for them just to obviously get your phone number online, call you, email you, or whatever, and set up an appointment? I mean, because I imagine you guys probably have a list of appointments going on.
We are getting 4 inquiries a day from people trying to join the company, and then we have a crew of 6 champions that filter them for cultural purposes. So if you want to apply, you can go to our website and you can say which one, and then they have pre-qualification questions, and then you do have to do the strength finders. So if you're not interested in personal development, don't call us, don't apply. And we do this on purpose. You're going to jump through hoops because we want to push away the people that aren't really interested and they're just attracted for some reason, because it's affordable.
They drag down your organization.
We want the high energy, growth-minded people, and growth-minded people love the obstacles. They love it. And so if you see them go through it quickly, then you're like, this person, that they're going to have success in real estate because they have the right mindset for it.
What's on you and Brittany's travel bucket list?
Travel bucket list. Oof. We've got a lot of travel coming up.
What's the most exotic place you're going? Where are you?
I mean, I want to go back to Hawaii. I want to go back to Maui with Brittany and do the road to Hana. I don't know if you've ever
I've never been to Hawaii.
You should
My
go.
wife's in more in the Tahiti and those Maldives and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I want to go to Galapagos. Brittany probably has different ideas. She wants to go, to some parts of Asia and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. We're loan officers, so we gotta ask you this question.
You already know the answer.
I already know the answer. What's the number one thing you request of your referral partners, or obviously I assume you refer in house to keep it in your house to your own lender, but that loan officer as part of their employment. I mean, what's the number one thing you request of them?
Communication. Which is what every other person has said, because it's the truth.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't have somebody that's responsive, then
I gotta change that question, I guess. People are cheating.
Maybe it's like, what would you, other than communication, what would you look for in your loan officer? Because we already know that's going to be the number one value.
From our industry, the three things that we want, obviously, close on time is obviously number one. It's
basics.
It's basics. The number three thing was actually leads that were referred to us that are approved and looking, we call them, and it consistently be at least once a week touching on those, because a lot of times the agents aren't. They like right now. Some people are like, oh, we're waiting for this $350,000 house in St. Johns County. Well, so is everybody else. So they may be in this thing for months, but to stay in touch with them, keep touching them for the agent is one of the top things, and obviously, communication through the process being number two. Yeah. So we could definitely talk for hours. I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.